This is Ann Dillard with Teen Talk Live coming to you tonight on this beautiful Wednesday night. And I have an amazing guest with us here tonight. And it's none other than the amazing Audra R Upchurch. Welcome, Audra.
Hey guys, thank you, Ann, for having me on tonight.
Absolutely. It is such a delight to have you. I won't even go into the details of how we came to have this show with you being the guest tonight, but I am just so honored that you have you've accepted the invitation and is here to share with us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. This is fantastic.
I know that you've been really busy. I've been watching all the programs that you've been on, and you've been on radio shows, and so you know, I feel really grateful. I'm very appreciative, and I'm sure our viewers will be very appreciative for the information that you are going to share with us tonight.
You know, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate all you do, especially for teenagers, because, you know, that's dear to my heart. So again, I'm just glad that I could have, you know, freedom and flexibility in my schedule to be here for you tonight.
Right. And that's one of the things that you do for other people too. You help them to create and find that freedom and flexibility in their lives. And so kudos, Audra, kudos.
Thank you.
So we have some guests joining us. And while as they come in and pop on to be with us, please feel free to share. This is going to be some good stuff that we're talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about how do you build self-confidence in your teens, and why is it even important that your teens have self-confidence? It's critical. It's something very critical. And so, you know, we're going to delve into that and talk about what are the ramifications of teens not having self-confidence. How does that affect them? Their mental health, really. And so please feel free to share, shout out, tell everybody about this, because self-confidence, you know what? It's something, it's very valuable. It's very valuable. And we need to be promoting that in our young people and in ourselves. But tonight we're going to be talking about our teenagers. So, Patrice, thank you for joining us. I'm so glad you're here. Sherry, I'm glad you're here. Oh, Val, I know you'll catch it on the replay. And Pastor Brunton, I'm so glad you're joining us. And I know you have teenagers in your house as well. And so welcome, everyone. Welcome, and welcome to our guests. Audra, this is Ann Dillard again with Teen Talk Live, where we are transforming the lives and minds of teens and those who serve them. All right, Miss Audra, how do you serve the world with all your gifts and talents?
You know, in a nutshell, I use my experiences as ways to inspire and give others hope, because my life definitely was not a crystal stair. Right. Mm-hmm. So I use those stories to inspire others and show them that they can survive and that there is life on the other side.
Wow. And that is so amazing, because I don't have my sign up, but I have a big hope sign that I keep in my office, because that's what it's really about. Yes. How do we instill hope in people? Because there is such a huge deficit of hope in today's society. And that is, if you have hope, there's so many other things that we can prevent negative things just by having hope.
Oh, but definitely. Hope begins with a thought, right?
That's right. That is so true. But you didn't always have hope, Audra.
No, Ann, I didn't.
Wow. So just give us a little glimpse of, and we're just gonna delve right in, because we got a lot to talk about. And your story really intrigued me, because as a teenager, I struggled as a teenager. Mm-hmm. I think that's why my focus is so much on teens. So give us a little synopsis of what young Audra was like.
Well, young Audra, life for her was no crystal stair. By the age of 15, I was homeless due to my mother's struggle with mental illness. And unfortunately, not having a mom present in my life to guide me and direct me, self-confidence, that didn't even exist for me at that age. I was so unsure of who I was and what my place was in the world, you know? And not only not having my mom, I never knew my dad. So I was truly out in the world by myself.
Wow. We weren't created to be in the world by ourselves.
No.
Not at all. And so I could imagine Audra at age 15, mom is not available. And it might even be worse when you can see her, but still she's not available.
Right.
You know, that ambiguous loss, we call it in the therapy, in the mental health world, when somebody is there or around, but they're not available.
Right. It was tough. You know, I was the baby, you know, and like most families, the baby is the one that's spoiled, right?
Yeah.
So while my family calls me the baby, I used to always say I'm the youngest, but now I embrace that term. And so losing my mom at that tender age was devastating for me. And it truly hampered my growth as an individual and how I saw myself and what I believed, because I felt that I wasn't worthy. You know, I felt that I didn't have value because no one took me in.
Wow.
So the stories we tell ourselves in our head, right? I'm a little older now, so I look at things a little differently. Right. But 15-year-old Audra just felt, okay, no one wants me, so therefore I have no value.
Wow. That's pretty powerful, because you are creating your own narrative, because the caregiver was not there to help you and help facilitate that process.
Right.
So you're left to your own 15 years of life experiences, which is really nothing.
Exactly.
Wow. That is pretty powerful. So as a result of not having a caregiver, and we cannot, you know, as a society, we need to stop dismissing the importance of having a caregiver.
Yes.
And having that attachment is so important. And to our parents, first and foremost. But if we don't have our parents, which many of our teenagers don't, you know, having somebody else there to take you in and to guide you can help, you know, foster some healthy development.
Oh, I agree. You know, I definitely believe it takes a village, right? Isn't that a hashtag they use in Black Therapists Rock, the village mentality, right?
Yes.
It takes a village. And unfortunately, I didn't have a village. And so self-doubt creeped in, and my confidence was like, just, and I carried that into my adulthood and my poor decisions I made as a result of it.
Wow. Well, we're going to hear about some of those decisions, but let me shout out to our guests who are coming on. Marquita, welcome. Welcome, Susan. Toya, I'm glad you're here. You all share. And if you're catching us on the replay, just let us know, hashtag replay, and share this out. Village. Yes. Hashtag village. How many of you have a village? Or most importantly, or more importantly, how many of you have created a village for your children? Right? Because we never know as parents how long we'll be able to be there for our children. We just hope that we can. And so it's important to have that village.
That's so true.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about some of those decisions that you started to talk about, Audra.
Well, you know, as a homeless teenager, and I want to clarify what I mean by homeless, because, you know, I shared this on my page and some folks are going to say, hey, well, I knew you when you were 15. Well, I didn't have a home to come to every night. And I was pretty creative. And thankfully, I grew up in the church. So I would have church members that I would stay at their homes.
Wow.
And I would go to my friend's house and I would sit and wait until their mom would say, hey, honey, do you want to stay the night? And I would go, sure, of course I do.
Wow.
So thankfully, I never laid my head on the concrete and slept on the street. Thankfully, it never came to that. But there were some nights where it was pretty close.
Wow.
There were some days when, it could have gone either way. And I'm so thankful, so thankful to God that he protected me and he sheltered me through those times. But not having an adult to guide me and to say, well, you can do this or you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was 15 hanging out with adults, because what other 15-year-old, could do what they want to do. Right.
Right.
So by the age of 17, I was a mother.
Wow.
And, I love my son. Hey, Sean, if you're watching, I love my son, who is now 30, and married with his own family. But I was 17. I had no idea what I was doing, taking care of myself, much less a baby.
Wow. Yeah.
And because of that, I lost custody of my son.
Mm.
And, that was heart-wrenching for me. And in my chapter in Shift Happens, which was my first anthology I was a part of, I chronicled that experience of being homeless and pregnant, losing custody of my son, and how I put my life back together.
Wow.
But by the time I had my second child at 20, I was emotionally void. I was so disconnected from the world because I had so much pain that I hadn't resolved or dealt with losing my mother and then my son.
Right.
So
wow.
I was emotionally bankrupt raising a child of my own. So it was a tough time.
Audra, I can't even imagine losing custody of one of my children. That is just, that's just so hard to think about. Yet you're so young and probably weren't even aware of what was happening.
I was sharing this with someone recently that, when you grow up in poverty, there are some things that are just people don't look at. And unfortunately, I was one of other pregnant young women, right, in my neighborhood. So at that time, it wasn't anything that I felt ashamed of or felt that was odd.
Right.
And it's sad when you think about it, but that was my reality.
Wow.
It was what I saw in my environment. So, I kind of fell in line with that statistic, unfortunately, because I didn't know any better. But thankfully, when you know better, you do better. That's right?
Yes. Hashtag everybody, when you know better, do better. we have to do that because we don't get it. We don't come into this world knowing the things that we know now at almost 50.
No.
When we know better, we have a command, we have a purpose, and we have an obligation to do better.
Indeed.
Okay, so let me just pause and shout out to our guests who are coming on. I see our BTR folks here. Hey, Daphne, glad you can join us. Patrice, yes, when you know better, do better. And Beth is joining us from, I think she's in Venezuela. Tanya is here, and I'm so glad you all are here. And if you have questions for Audra, drop them in the comment line so that we can ask her some questions as well. Audra, when you talked about being homeless but not laying your head on the concrete, that so resonated with me because what most of the audience might not know is I'm working with you on your next anthology. And so shout out to Unchain My Legacy.
Yeah, somebody put that in the comments, Unchain My Legacy.
Unchain My Legacy, that's coming up. So part of it, what I'm writing about is messages to my 13-year-old self. And for the last month or so, I've been thinking about different stories of my life, 13, 14, 15, and had to come into grips with experiencing that homelessness. Not that I didn't have a house, but at one point in my life, I couldn't go home.
Wow.
Right? And so thank God for the church. And the people of the church who who took me in and who saw about me.
Amen.
And were concerned about me.
Amen.
And provided a safe place for me. And so that has been coming up for me a lot lately. So I resonate with your story about that. And as a result, I didn't have that confidence. Right? But it's a journey. It's a journey.
It is. And it's so hard when you struggle with confidence issues as a young adult. Right. Mm-hmm. And especially in my case, though I lost custody of my son, my second child I was raising.
Right.
And not having self-confidence for myself, then how could I instill that in this little girl I was raising?
Right. Because we can't give what we don't have, right?
Right. Right.
Wow. That's pretty powerful. And I think a lot of times we don't think about how what we are going through, how that impacts our children.
It directly impacts our children. And it's so hard when we don't deal with our stuff, right? And we don't deal with our mess. We run the risk of, and I'm not even going to say risk. We pretty much do pass that stuff right on down to our kids.
Yeah.
And then they're stuck living with it.
Exactly. But here's the thing. We package it nicely as generational curse. But generational curse don't just happen.
Exactly. Hence, unchain my legacy.
My legacy, right? It's stuff, generational curse that we're talking about. And we so proudly talk about, it's stuff patterns that we have not broken and we have not addressed.
Right.
And when we're parenting out of our own brokenness, then we pass that on.
Child. Honey. And here's the real catch, right? In society, especially as mothers, we are taught to have an ego. Oh, not my child. Oh, that's my child. Oh no, I taught my child better than that. Oh no, my child won't do this. And no, my child won't do that. And as mothers, we're taught to have this huge ego and we wear it as a badge of honor.
Right.
And because of that, we don't want to own our own crap when it comes to the decisions we've made raising our children. Okay. I hope I'm not making somebody mad.
Hashtag own your own crap.
I just got to tell it how it is. Because until we do, our children are going to suffer and they're going to still live in this revolving door of mistakes that we've made. We're going to continue to see this thing cycle through until we own it. They can't fix it.
Right. Well, see, Audra, that's good stuff because my question is, how are we going to own it when we have no awareness of it? Because what we grow up in this is natural. This is normal. This is how my grandma did it. My mama did it. My cousin, my neighbor down the street. Right.
And I think it's really comes down to being willing to feel your own pain. Because even though it's what mama did and auntie did and grandma did, we still have to live through that pain. And even when we can deny our own pain, when we look at our children and we see their pain, that has to resonate somewhere. It has to cause some action somewhere.
You are talking. Right? You are talking. Because if we don't, we might not want to look at our own pain, but Audra, it comes out in the weight that we carry on our bodies. It comes out in the substances that we use. Yeah. It comes out in the unhealthy relationships that we develop. Mm-hmm. It comes out in all the abuse and all the misuse of different substances in our life because we won't face our own pain.
I so agree. I used to smoke cigarettes and people always say, wow, you are a smoker. And I smoked for 17 years.
Wow.
I started smoking at the age of 15 and I did not stop till I was 32. But when I tell you I was a smoker, I was one of those chain smokers. Like a pack of cigarettes would barely last me a day. Yeah. And I struggled. It took me 3 years to finally stop. I would stop, start. And I would get so frustrated with myself. But it also took me realizing why I was holding on to this crutch. What was this cigarette doing for me? And I traced it back to being 15 years old and homeless not having nowhere to go, feeling lost, and I would smoke a cigarette to make myself feel better. Or somehow in my mind, it made me feel better.
Just to feel.
Right.
It's something, because as I was researching this topic for tonight, Audra, I came across these, the four, well, I knew them a little bit, but in our brains, we have these chemicals. We have good chemical, we have, bad chemicals that's released for different reasons. And so when we, there's a chemical called oxytocin.
Yes.
Right. And what I found out, that oxytocin is directly correlated with trust and belonging.
Wow. How about that?
How about that? So if we don't have that, right, and we don't have that relationship where we can establish, be feeling like we belong, guess what that causes us to do? We go chasing that good feeling. We go chasing that belongingness in negative ways, because our brain isn't producing the oxytocin that it needs.
Don't you love being on broadcast with therapists, y'all?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, so when you chasing that, that deep fried chicken from Popeyes.
Okay. Or if you would like me, those Newport 100s, that's what I used to smoke.
Okay.
Honey.
So then you need to stop and say, okay, where am I not feeling trust or that I belong? Are you in an abusive relationship? Are you feeling neglected? Do you have attachment issues going on? Because God has created our bodies so wonderfully, right?
Yes.
And if we're feeling and experiencing and having those positive releases, we don't need no substitute.
Somebody put in the comments, #no substitute.
No substitute.
No substitute.
Let me shout out to our guests. Hey, Sabra. Hey, LaTracy and Charles. I'm glad you all joined us. Yes, #no substitute. Because then our bodies are functioning and our brains are functioning the way God wants it, created it, in his own image, right?
I love it. Yes.
So that just kind of blew me away. That's the chemical that's released when we feel a sense of trust and sense of belonging. Now, if you are at 15 and don't have a mama available, how on earth are you supposed to feel like you belong?
Hello.
Right?
Right.
You can't even have access to your own mama.
Right.
And that's what we notice when we look at our young girls and we're like, that one, they're gonna end up pregnant.
Woo.
Well, guess what? They're not feeling that they have trust in their life. They're not feeling that anybody trusts them, and they don't feel like they belong. So they're gonna find a substitute.
Right.
Because they're gonna chase after that feeling, because your body was created for that. Wow. I mean, that blew me away.
Yeah.
So even as we talk about self-confidence and building that up, one of the things that we can do with our teenagers to create more oxytocin, sense of belongingness, is giving them some responsibility. It's amazing when kids have pets and can take care of something, right? That gives them that warm feeling.
Wow. That
connection. Because we're created for connection. Yes. And if we're not having it from our parental system, then we try to find it in other things. And what better way than having a pet? So that's one positive way.
I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah. I didn't like pets, but I mean, we did goldfish. But we weren't doing the other stuff.
Yeah, I ain't do it either, y'all.
But I'm learning that those things have their place. I mean, we're talking about teens, but to the extent that, think about veterans who come back and have PTSD and just think about the lack of oxytocin that might be going on in their brains. And a lot of them find companionship with like a dog or an animal or something like that. So we can help. There is hope.
Yes.
There is hope to building that self-confidence. So Audra, as you went along, what changed for you?
Well, unfortunately for me, self-confidence didn't really come into play until I was much older. Mm-hmm. And I had to admit that I didn't have it. And I did an evaluation of where my life was, and I was not happy. Now, everything on the outside was great. I had a great job, had a nice home, had a nice car. Everything on the outside was what that 15-year-old Audra always longed for, right? I walked into my closet and it was full of clothes, and, I was able to go shopping and buy all the materialistic things that 15-year-old Audra only dreamt about.
Wow.
But one day I realized that who I was on the inside didn't measure up.
Wow.
And so I had to do the work, and a part of that was really understanding who I was.
Yes.
What I truly wanted and what things mattered, and aligning my life with that. Wow. And in that process, then discovering myself and feeling good about who I was on the inside.
Yeah.
Confidence followed.
Wow. That is amazing. That is amazing. And once that confidence followed, you became unstoppable.
Then God did his thing. He did his thing.
Wow. That is so amazing. Now Beth says, she's in Venezuela. She said, I'm snuggling right now with a dog I borrowed for a few days. Yes, go ahead. And Tanya said, I think that's the truth. Pets are therapy for a lot of folks. Yes. And welcome, Jennifer. Welcome, Sandy. Welcome, Denise. I'm so glad that we're having this conversation, because it's more than just teenagers feeling badly about themselves. We all have a part in helping to build that self-confidence.
Right. And any mothers watching, any sisters watching, any cousins, any good friends, it takes a village, as we said earlier. And there may be young people in your life that you've, watched and you've pinged on and say, hey, I think she's lacking in this area. Or you can tell when a teenager doesn't feel good about herself. Come on now, right? We can tell when a teenager is not confident and when she's not in a good place. Right. But unfortunately, a lot of times, and I'll even admit this, a lot of times we don't feel comfortable starting the conversation, right? We don't know what to say. We don't know how to say it. So unfortunately, nothing gets done. And for that teenager, that conversation is everything.
That is so true, Audra. I can't tell you how many teenagers have eaten at our table and been in our homes because somebody did that for me.
Yeah.
Somebody opened up their homes for me. Growing up and feeling lonely and feeling like I don't belong, and having that person or those people, and having mentors. Mentors are so important.
Yes, they are. I think as mothers, also that ego thing we have as mothers, right? Sometimes it's hard for working moms who have provided a great home for their children to accept that it may take somebody else to reach their child.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And sometimes they have to be the one. They're like, no, it's my child. But that child one day will leave your home and you won't be able to provide the resources then. Right. So it's important as mothers for us to check our egos and recognize that it does exist.
Right.
And that it may take some other woman to come into your home and reach your child, and it not be you.
That's so true. Hashtag check your egos, please.
Hashtag mama, check your ego.
Mama, check your egos. Correction. Hashtag mamas, check your egos. You know what, Audra, is so profound that you said that, because I just had this conversation yesterday with one of my mentees. And she just finally graduated college, and I was so proud of her. I was in tears, right? And I said, she said the same thing. I said, does your mom still hate me? Because her mama could not stand me. I remember she cursed me out. Another mentor and I were in their home, and oh my gosh, Audra, she cursed us out. And she said, you know what, Miss Ann? She said, my mom realized that there were some things that you all were doing for me that she couldn't do for me.
Wow.
And that was so hard for her. And so for moms or dads,
right,
to be able to check your egos and allow somebody else who have the resources to be there for your child, you'll only be rewarded for it.
That's right. Because you'll always be the mother.
You'll
always be the mother. No one can ever take that away from you. Right?
Exactly. But sometimes we need a few other people in our life, hence the village, to help move us to our next space. Because you can only do as much as you know.
Right.
Right? So that is so critical that you said that.
I'm looking at one of the comments here from one of the viewers that said, I checked my ego and got my daughter help.
Oh, wow.
Kudos to you.
Shout out to Tanya. That is so critical.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure it was a hard decision to make, but again, it's like I said earlier, we can ignore our own pain when we're looking at our children and we're witnessing this pain that we can help them with. We have got to take action, whether that's finding your child a mentor, whether that's getting your child therapy.
Yes.
Sidebar, I feel as a parent, if your child is in therapy, then you also should be in therapy to deal with what they're going through, to learn how to handle what they're going to and to respond to them. There are things that we can do. We can take action and reach out for the resources and assistance that is available, because your baby is dependent on you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing about it too, and if you don't, okay, so the mama hasn't gotten to the point where they realize this, or the dad, but if you are a bystander, do something about it.
Yes.
We cannot afford to keep losing. We're losing our teenagers in droves, right? We're losing them. We're losing them to the system. We are losing them. And so
losing the suicide. How many kids are threatening suicide and are actually going through with the act because they just feel like they're worthless? It's awful.
Yes. And we're not just talking about teenagers, Audra. I have read reports of 6, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds who have followed through the act of suicide. And what is that? That's from not having that self-confidence, not feeling like they belong, not having a belief in themselves, because lack of self-confidence directly impact your mental health.
Wow. That, girl, you got me with that. Wow.
Okay. We got to do better as a people.
Yes.
We got to do better. And you know what? So what you weren't invited to be in their village. Invite yourself.
Right.
Right? Because people are looking. It's amazing. When I'm out in public and I just smile at a kid, it's amazing how no matter how tough they might look, it's amazing how it just melts them.
Oh, well, you have a beautiful smile anyway, Ann, so I'm sure that doesn't hurt.
Thank you. But what if more of us would just smile?
Right.
And be inviting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not, when I was growing up, there was this phrase, I hope I can remember. It's like, me and my 3, my 4, no more.
Okay.
How about if we extend that to somebody else?
Right.
That
Wow.
child who might be a young Audra, who's looking, or a young Anne who's looking for some place to belong.
Right.
Wow. So tell us what to expect from you, Audra. What's going on in your world? What's happening?
Well, so many things. I'm really excited of the opportunities that have presented themselves, especially with the co-authors for Unchain My Legacy, which will be my next anthology released in the summer of 2018.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about that. We're wrapping up. So if you're watching and you're interested in being a part of an amazing anthology, this will be my 4th bestseller, right?
Woo-hoo.
And we hit #1 in 4 or 5 categories with Unchain Me Mama. So we'll do the same or more with Unchain My Legacy, of course. Got to up the ante. And if you're interested in being a part, you can just check out my website, audraupchurch.com, and go to the tab for books and click on author inquiry, and we can set up a call and talk about it, because we are still open for 1 or 2 more slots in Unchain My Legacy. So that's really what I'm focused on for 2018, is providing an amazing platform for my co-authors and supporting them as much as I can, because these stories are impactful. I don't know if you've read Unchain Me Mama. If you haven't, you can grab a copy on chainmemama.com.
Yes.
These stories were impactful and they're life-changing.
Yes.
You know, it's time we make some new changes. It's time we make some new choices in our lives. And like you mentioned earlier, we see some of the same things in our family with our aunties, our grandmas, our cousins. So sometimes you have to grab a book and read someone else's story to recognize that you're no different than them, and you too can make a new choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just going to check our audience here. Patrice, thank you for dropping that link where you can find Audra for the Unchain My Legacy co-author anthology that's coming up. Anika, welcome. I'm so glad you joined us. And Audra, we have a few comments here. Marquita says, so true, Audra. It's heartbreaking. We have to reach them. Yes, we have to reach our kids. And you know what? We don't need to wait till they become teenagers. Reach them sooner.
Because here's the thing. Usually by the time they're a teenager, for a lot of them, it's too late.
Absolutely. You know, absolutely. But you know, if you have a teenager, you know, still try.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, Tanya says, yes, 10 and 11-year-olds committing suicide. I could not believe it. It just blows my mind all the time. It blows my mind when I read that. And Tanya says, a smile is contagious. And take notice, when you smile at someone and they smile back 99% of the time. That is so true, Tanya. You are right on with that. And that is so true. So, you know, Audra, I'm just going to share a little bit. If you are a parent or a guardian and you're like, you know, but my child doesn't seem like they have any self-confidence. You know, I want you to take that seriously, because a child who doesn't have any self-confidence, they are more prone to being bullied.
Wow.
They are prone to be in relationships that's abusive, right? They are prone to use substances. They're prone to having suicide ideations and even attempt suicide. They're prone to cutting. So a child without self-confidence has less opportunities to feel accomplished, less opportunities to feel motivated. And when we feel those things release good chemicals in our brain that keeps us going. So it's not just for show, it's for healthy brain development, healthy self-development also. So as we build our self-confidence in our children, they are more likely to go to college. They are more likely to accomplish great things in life. They are more likely to be advocates for themselves. Think about a self-confident child that you know. Do they speak up for themselves? Do they tell you, I don't really like that? And if you have a child that's voicing their opinion in that way, don't shut them down. Listen to them. because that is so important, and that's helping them to define who they are, and that's helping them to say, you know what, to realize I'm important and my voice is important. And so I'm going to need you to treat me like I'm important. So a child with more positive self-confidence is better equipped to deal with stressors in their life. And guess what? They're less likely to have eating disorders. Isn't that something? It's all connected.
Well, you know, something you said made me think about, unfortunately, a lot of the beliefs that my generation had about kids. So you mentioned, you know, teenagers and stressors. You know, I was growing up, they were like, oh, you don't have no stress. You know, you don't have stress. I'm the one paying the bills. You don't have stress. I'm the one keeping the roof over your head. And unfortunately, that thinking, especially today, right? Because kids have so much more to deal with than we did, you know, whether we want to admit it or not, they do. We didn't have to compete with everybody on social media. We had maybe the kids in our neighborhood and the kids at school. Now these kids have to compete globally, right? And have to be compared with the world when they show up on social media. So they have so much more to deal with. And they do have valid stressors that can push them into directions that can be catastrophic.
Absolutely.
And it's important to recognize that they're children, but they still have their own stressors. And as adults, we're so far removed from it sometimes, we don't always catch the signs or recognize how serious they are.
That is so true, Audra. And what I tell my parents is, if your child has a cell phone, they have stressors. They do, because they have immediate access to the universe. And guess what? The universe has immediate access to them. They don't even have to leave their bedroom. They're getting subliminal messages right in their bedrooms.
Yep.
You know, they're being marketed to. They're being conformed right in their bedrooms and right through their cell phones.
Right.
So we have to, as parents, we have to be up on those things. We have to set limits to preserve and to build our children's self-esteem. We need to set limits, and we need to also have routine for our kids. Routine helps to develop healthy self-confidence and healthy self-esteem.
Oh, I agree. One of the viewers I see, Trina, says we have to develop the art of listening to our children.
Yes, Trina. We do.
Art.
That is an art, because, you know, I don't know if a lot of our viewers were brought up when I was brought up, where children are seen and not heard.
Exactly.
Right? And so we do have to listen to our children. And most importantly, we have to listen to what they're not saying. Because that's a lot of times they send us messages because they don't necessarily have the words to tell us what we need to know.
Wow.
Yes. So, and Patrice said, raise with the children should be seen and not heard. Yeah, Patrice, that's just what I was talking about, you know, and we have to stop that and listen to our kids. Give them the words and help to change the narratives that they have.
Right. I think when you don't listen to what they're saying, that's communicating to them that they're not important.
Exactly.
That they don't have value, and that depletes their confidence.
Absolutely. And Marquita said we have to teach emotional intelligence with our children so they grow up as intelligent adults. Yes, that is so critical that kids have that language to speak. And the more emotional intelligent language that our kids have, the less physically abusive they are.
Wow.
Because when you can use your words, you don't need to manifest it physically. So creating those spaces for our children to learn and to grow, giving them responsibility at home, giving them a chance to feel accomplished, right?
Ooh, we got a question here. That's a good question.
All right, let's see.
Emotional intelligence, what does that mean?
Wow, that's a good one, Tanya. That's a good one. Emotional intelligence to me is having the know-how to express yourself emotionally, to be in touch with your feelings, to know how to regulate. And that doesn't just happen.
Word.
It doesn't just happen. Look at all the kids who are being put on medication, and the first thing is like they can't self-regulate. So for me, that's all a part of emotional intelligence. And if that's not common in where you live and grow, then you might use other resources. Like you might resort to violence. You might resort to bullying because you haven't learned how to be in touch with your feelings, how to be safe with yourself, and how to express yourself in a safe way.
Can I respond in a less professional way?
Yes, please.
Because Ann is the therapist, right? Yeah. I'm just Audra. Audra. When I think emotional intelligence, I think of when people get upset and they immediately snap off on folk. Instead of thinking about the situation, thinking about a better way to approach it, they just snap on folks.
Yes.
We know those kind of people, right? We've all seen them. Well, that is an example of lacking emotional intelligence, right? Or when you're in the workplace and every time you have a coworker, when their boss instructs them to do something they don't want to do, they got to roll their eyes and their neck and do all of that. That's no emotional intelligence, right?
That is true. And Tanya said, I don't think that a lot of adults have the capability to teach emotional intelligence to children. Yeah, because if you don't know it, you don't know what it looks like. How can you teach what you don't have? Mm-hmm. Right? And so it's important that we have, again, other people in our children's lives.
Yes.
Right? And it's not a bad thing if you don't have it. You just, when you know better, you do better.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. So I am so glad that we're having this conversation on Teen Talk Live with Miss Audra R Upchurch and all our guests who are here with us. Somebody named us Team A, or the A Team.
Yay!
The A Team. I'm so glad that you're here, Audra. So Audra, for that 15-year-old who's listening, or it might be the parent of that 15-year-old, what's 2 things that you want to leave with them?
Okay, so I'll start with the 15-year-old that's listening.
Yeah.
You know, honey, wherever you are, whoever you are, know that you matter. I don't care what you see going on around you. When you look in that mirror, understand and believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are important and that wherever your life is today, it can change. That your story is not yet written. It can change. The second thing I want to say to her is connect with someone. If it can't be your mom, if it can't be your sister, your cousin, your auntie, reach out to an outside organization and get the support that you need and that you deserve. Because yes, you are that important. And there are resources out there. So if you got your cell phone,
That's
Google resources for teens and find something in your area so that you can get the support that you so deserve.
Right.
Now for that mama.
Talk to that mama, Audra.
Hey, mama. For that mom, I want to encourage you to do what I just told your daughter to do. I want you to go get resources for yourself. As we talked about in this broadcast, parenting is not easy. And there's no shame in saying, I need help. Mm-hmm. You know, I wish 30 years ago, 25 years ago, I had gone to parenting classes and gotten the support that I needed. Because like Tanya said, how do parents know how to teach emotional intelligence, right?
That's right.
So I would highly encourage you, if you're struggling with your teenager, go take parenting classes. There is no shame in that. It doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It means you're an awesome parent that recognizes you need some help.
That's right.
The second thing I would tell you to do is when you get off this broadcast, go in that room and go hug your 15-year-old child. Go put your arms around that girl and tell her how much you love her. Tell her, look her in her eyes and tell her how important she is. Tell her how valuable she is. Remind her how beautiful she is. And if that is something you got to do every single night, then that's what you need to do.
Right. Wow. Wow, Audra, somebody say you are on point, and yes, you are. And I'm just thinking about Tanya, who is on our broadcast, and Tanya said, I admit that that's me. Tanya, that is so powerful that you said that, because you know what? It starts with the awareness that we talked about, and it's all good from here.
Yes.
Because you have that awareness. And if you are listening to this broadcast, or if you are on the replay and you have any teen resources, drop it in the comments so that other people can reach out and not suffer in silence. Don't just sit back and wait for the teenage years to be over with. Get some help. Get your kids involved. Get other people involved in their lives. We have many, many mentorship programs out there. I'm a part of one. I have my own, which is called PGEMS, mentor hundreds of girls and boys too. And now I'm working with Girls in Action. That's another mentorship program. So look in your community and see what affiliation, positive affiliation that you can have, or you can sign your teen up for. And if you are an adult that's listening, reach out and mentor somebody.
Yes.
Yeah. Be that person who's going to help them change their lives and become a 3-time, 4-time, bestseller author. Because you have the power. We all have the power to help somebody feel like they belong. We really do. Audra, it has been so amazing to have you on. And thank you for being so free and vulnerable with sharing your journey with us, and so authentic Audra.
Because it's my absolute pleasure, Anne.
Right. And you're getting lots of love from our viewers. I'm so glad you all were here with us tonight on Teen Talk Live, where we transform the minds of teens and those who love them. We appreciate you joining us, and catch us on the replay. Remember to share this. Audra, thank you. I look forward to our journey together.
Thank you so much. And for the viewers, any of you guys want to keep in touch, I have an online community only for women, sorry guys, that are ready to thrive and live life the way God intended for them to be, in abundance. It's Freedom to Thrive. So please look us up on Facebook, Freedom to Thrive. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. I'm a part of that community and I love it. I love it. Thank you for creating that space for us to learn how and grow. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you again for joining us on Teen Talk Live, and stay tuned for more episodes coming up soon. Have a great night.
Bye, guys.